When you issue a direct demand, people instinctively brace for impact and fight back. Master strategists never force compliance through brute power alone. They build engineered frames where every available choice leads directly to their intended outcome. Perceptual anchoring is the operational science of dictating baseline reality. In this masterclass, discover how to establish extreme reference points, construct choice traps, lock the negotiation frame, and compel absolute compliance while leaving them convinced it was all their idea. The anchor setting involves establishing an extreme baseline reference point before any real negotiation begins. By throwing out an initial number, condition, or boundary that heavily favors your position, you instantly alter the opponent's psychological sense of scale. Even if they reject the initial anchor as unreasonable, their subsequent counteroffers remain tethered to the artificial starting point you engineered. What would have originally felt like an aggressive demand now appears as a reasonable middle ground compromise in comparison. A skilled strategist uses initial anchors to shrink the opponent's expectations, distort their perception of value, and make significant concessions feel like victories, ensuring the final settled terms fall precisely within the desired target range. True power lies not in dictating an opponent's decision, but in controlling the menu from which they choose. The illusion of choice is the tactical practice of presenting structured alternatives where every available path yields your intended result. They spend critical energy evaluating which path best serves their interest, completely failing to notice that both paths are wired into the same master structure. By shifting their focus from whether to comply to how to comply, you eliminate resistance entirely. The opponent feels empowered, self-directed, and satisfied with their decision, completely unaware that their choice was an engineered illusion designed to execute your agenda. In any high-stakes debate, whoever controls the frame dictates the permissible arguments. Rather than arguing over core principles, you subtly shift the discussion to secondary logistical details. Once the opponent engages with your secondary details, they implicitly accept the underlying premise of your frame. They become trapped in a room of your design, arguing over window dressings while you retain total control over the foundation. By preventing the opponent from reframing or challenging the baseline assumptions, you neutralize their strategic leverage and keep them focused on solving problems within the boundaries you constructed. Asymmetric value framing is the art of reshaping how an asset, concession, or requirement is perceived by altering its surrounding context. By reframing a major concession as a routine operational formality or downplaying the true worth of a critical asset you seek to acquire, you blind the opponent to its actual strategic importance. Conversely, you can inflate the perceived value of a trivial item you are willing to surrender, making your concession appear monumental. Controlling the emotional and situational frame allows you to trade low-cost concession for high-value strategic wins. 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 For high-value. When individuals are subjected to extreme pressure, their cognitive capacity shrinks, making them susceptible to simplified choices. The false dilemma trap involves deliberately constructing an artificial binary choice, forcing the opponent to select between two engineered extremes under tight time constraints. By presenting your preferred outcome alongside an obviously catastrophic alternative, you trigger a sense of urgency and fear. The opponent's brain rushes to avoid the catastrophic scenario, blinding them to subtle, nuanced third options that might serve them better. Through this manufactured urgency, you eliminate hesitation and compel rapid compliance without ever appearing explicitly coercive. The most secure form of compliance occurs when the opponent believes the strategic outcome was their own original idea. Psychological ownership transfer is the advanced operational art of guiding an opponent through a trail of engineered breadcrumbs until they arrive at your intended conclusion and proudly claim it as their own creation. Instead, you ask targeted questions, highlight specific structural flaws in existing proposals, and plant strategic clues that lead the opponent to formulate the exact answer you wanted. Once the opponent voices the engineered solution, you immediately validate their insight, retreat slightly, and allow them to take full intellectual credit. By surrendering public recognition, you gain total operational control. The opponent will defend the agreement against internal friction, all because their ego is tied to defending their brilliant strategy. Ultimately, psychological ownership transfer transforms a potential adversary into an enthusiastic executor of your plan. You achieve permanent strategic alignment without resistance, proving that true mastery lies not in taking credit for victories, but in subtly authoring the results while letting others hold the spotlight.